What is the correct formula for cesium hydroxide? First, I need to figure out what the symbol is for cesium. Cesium is symbol Cs, and it is in the first column, which means it's going to have one valence electron, so it's going to give away that one valence electron. Giving a gift is a nice thing to do, so that means that it is going to have a charge of +1. Hydroxide is a polyatomic, which means I can find it on the inside of my periodic table. Hydroxide is going to be OH with a charge of -1. I will then crisscross charges for subscripts, and I will be left with CSOH. I do not need parentheses because I do not need multiple of the hydroxide ion. What is the correct formula for calcium permanganate? Calcium is going to be element symbol Ca. It is in the second column, which means it's going to have 2 valence electrons. It's going to give those 2 valence electrons away. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a charge of +2, since giving a gift is a nice thing to do. Permanganate, this suffix -ate gives me a clue that that is in fact a polyatomic ion, so I'm going to look on the inside of my periodic table. When I do, I can find permanganate toward the bottom here, and it is MnO4 with a charge of -1. When I crisscross charges for subscripts, I'm going to notice that I am going to have multiple of the permanganate ion, which means I need to protect it within parentheses. I do not need multiple calciums since permanganate's charge is 1, so calcium subscript is now 1. So CaMnO4 2 is my formula. What is the correct formula for cobalt-2 cyanide? First thing I need to do is figure out what cobalt's symbol is. Cobalt is going to be CO. Cobalt-2 means that I have a charge of +2. And then cyanide is going to be a polyatomic ion, and I can find it on the inside of my periodic table. When I find it, I see that it is Cn with a charge of -1. When I crisscross charges for subscripts, I'm going to notice that I'm going to have multiple cyanides, so I need to protect it within parentheses, and I am only going to have 1 cobalt, so my formula will be COCN2. What is the correct formula for niobium-3 chromate? So first I need to figure out what niobium symbol is. Niobium is Nb. It's in that transition metal block, which I got a hint for because I had oxidative states. So niobium-3 means that I have a charge of +3. Chromate, that 8 tells me that I am a polyatomic ion, and chromate is on the inside of my periodic table. Its symbol is CrO4 with a charge of -2. I'm now going to crisscross charges for subscripts. When I do so, I'm going to be careful to leave the subscript for chromate alone. And since I'm going to have multiple chromates, I'm going to protect it within parentheses and put that multiplier on the outside. So the 3 comes over here, and I'm protecting my chromate within parentheses. So the formula reads Nb2CrO4 3. What is the subscript for iridium in the correct formula for iridium-1 chromate? So to find the subscript for iridium, I need to find the formula. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. I need to find the element symbol for iridium. Iridium is element symbol Ir. It is in the transition metal block, which I got a clue for because I was given an oxidative state. So iridium-1 means that I'm going to have a charge of +1. Chromate, that 8 tells me that it's a polyatomic. I'm going to find it on the inside of my periodic table. Chromate has the formula CrO4 with a charge of -2. I'm then going to go ahead and crisscross charges for subscripts. I do not need multiple of the polyatomic, so I'm not going to put it within parentheses. And I was asked what the subscript for iridium was. The subscript for iridium was 2. What is the subscript for iron and the correct formula for iron 4 phosphate? So first I need to figure out what iron's symbol is. Iron's symbol is Fe. It's within that transition metal block, which I got a hint for because I was given the oxidative state. So iron 4 means that I have a charge of positive 4. Phosphate, that 8, tells me that that's a polyatomic. So I'm going to come on to my inside of the periodic table and find phosphate, and I'm going to see that phosphate has the formula of PO4 with a charge of -3. I'm then going to crisscross charges for subscripts, being careful to protect phosphate since I'm going to have multiple of the phosphate. I was asked only for the subscript for iron, so my subscript for iron was 3, and that's it. What is the subscript for magnesium and the correct formula for magnesium cyanide? So first I'm going to figure out who magnesium is. Magnesium has the element symbol Mg. It is in the second column, which means it is a representative metal, and is going to have 2 valence electrons. It will give those 2 valence electrons away, so it will have a charge of +2. And cyanide. Cyanide is a polyatomic, so I'm going to look on the inside of my periodic table and I'm going to find cyanide. When I do, I see that it has the formula Cn with a charge of -1. When I crisscross charges for subscripts, I'm going to be left with multiple cyanides, so I need to protect it within parentheses. And I'm asked for the subscript for magnesium, and the subscript for magnesium is invisible, which means it is 1. What is the subscript for aluminum and the correct formula for aluminum carbonate? So the first thing I need to do is I need to figure out who aluminum is. Aluminum is going to be element symbol Al. It is not in the first 2 columns. However, it is part of Katzenagel, which was why I was not given an oxidative state. So that means I was required to remember what the charge was for aluminum. Aluminum's memorized charge is +3. Then I need to figure out who carbonate is. The 8 gives me a hint that this is a polyatomic ion, so I'm going to look on the inside of my periodic table and I'm going to find carbonate. Carbonate has the formula CO3 with a charge of -2. I will then crisscross charges for subscripts, being careful to protect carbonate since I'm going to have multiple of them by putting it within parentheses and putting the multiplier on the outside. So my correct formula for aluminum carbonate is Al2CO3, but I'm asking for the subscript for aluminum. Subscript for aluminum was 2.